Get some chicken thighs, ample soy sauce, olive oil, garlic, red wine vinegar, oregano, and whatever else you want to throw in a dish. Cover in aluminum foil and bake at 375 for 45 minutes. Uncover and put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes and you have chicken Venetian. Chicken Venetian night at my Aunt Carol and Uncle Bob's house was always a delicious occasion when I visited my dad's family in Minnesota, though it's hard to say that it really stood out when amazing food found its way into my mouth practically without interruption during those visits, thanks to the efforts of my beloved Aunt Carol. The story goes that someone, at some unknown time, found this simple recipe on a bottle of soy sauce, and it became one of the few things that my Uncle Bob, Carol's husband, could cook. During my most recent visit to the Minneapolis suburbs of my dad's youth, where much of his family still lives, chicken Venetian was the meal I ate with Carol and Bob and my sister and parents the night before we left. When I got back to Tucson, I texted my Aunt Carol to ask for the recipe, and I have been making it pretty regularly since. But what makes chicken Venetian Venetian? You may be wondering if it tastes Venetian at all. I can't say much more than that I'm not sure. The questions of chicken Venetian abound. Who came up with it? What does it mean that a recipe coming straight from the packaging of a commodity found its way into my family's culinary identity? I called up my Aunt Carol to verify the story and to get her thoughts on my family's incorporation and mythologization of the recipe. Here's what she had to say.
Okay.
I guess one of the things that I remember about having chicken Venetian is that I don't know if I ever actually saw him making it or not, but I always heard that it was something that Bob could cook.
Yes, it was. He could make two things. He could make pancakes and he could make chicken Venetian. So it was one of his specialties because it's supremely simple to make.
Yeah, and it's really delicious.
Yes, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And that's why I had to get the recipe from you earlier this year after we were eating it at your house.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when we first started making it, it was very exotic. It was this kind of fancy, exotic thing. And then we made it so often that I guess people started thinking it was, sort of ordinary. And for a while we stopped making it, but now it's enjoying a renaissance, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess that's one of the things that I think is interesting about it, is because it's called chicken Venetian, like
yes.
Chicken from Venice.
Yes.
But the most important ingredient is soy sauce.
Yes, it's really more Asian, and then I've gotten recipes from Chinese friends, and they make things very similar, but without necessarily the oil. I think the only Venetian thing is oil, or and oregano, I guess.
Oregano.
Yeah.
But it can't be Venetian. I think it must be like an American recipe. I don't know.
Well, it was on a condiment bottle, so. Yeah,
some kind of condiment bottle.
Yeah.
I tried searching around online to find the condiment bottle.
Oh.
I couldn't find anything, but I did find like recipes really just exactly the same, but without any information about where they came from or anything.
Yeah, I don't know either.
They were all called Venetian chicken.
Oh, were they? You found more? Yeah. You found others like that?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, Venice was kind of a international hub, and they could have had merchants from the Far East coming through there,
Yeah, that's
long
true.
ago. So Well, it still is. It's a very cosmopolitan city, and long ago it was too. So
Yeah. Huh.
yeah.
Well,
So,
I've been making chicken Venetian every once in a while this year.
have you? Is it popular with your friends?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Ella
good.
really likes it too. It's easy to make, but what I make it with the ginger and red
Oh,
pepper flakes.
so you jazz it up a little bit.
Yeah. I
Good.
guess I've been pushing it a little bit more to like the Asian side, I guess, with the
Uh huh.
ginger.
Yeah. Well, that's a great thing about a good recipe. You can just really play with it,
Yeah.
make it your own.
And that was something that you
When it comes out of the oven, the thighs of the chicken will present a slightly dry, golden surface, sprinkled with small chunks of diced garlic and flecks of leafy Italian spices, surrounded by a sizzling and darkly aromatic substance pooling around the chicken in the center of the dish, and just beginning to thicken salty towards its edges. It is traditional to balance the tangy chicken against the simplicity of plain rice and the hot crunch of steamed broccoli, though I am just as likely to substitute this for an expansive green salad. As far as a voyage of flavors, the locale represented by the taste of a chicken Venetian, as its sauce spreads to charge everything it shares a plate with, depends on its maker. I make it with the addition of excessive grated ginger root and a generous shake of chili flakes, causing my rendition to veer from the ambiguous towards a more decidedly East Asian flavor profile, though it never loses what comes from a full teaspoon of quote-unquote Italian seasoning blend. A pile of rice spooned over with this unparalleled sauce certainly gives the impression of the exotic. In fact, in my experience, anything paired with it practically begs to be eaten to the point of excess. It is almost like this particular combination of ingredients was simply meant to be, in all its confusion and perfection, brought together possibly for the first time by a marketing team. Past its deliciousness, it is hard to define chicken Venetian. I tried to track down an image of a soy sauce bottle showing its recipe on the internet, to no avail, though I did find a few exact copies of the recipe, with no context, on food websites under the name of Venetian chicken. Some of my family's traditional recipes are related to a sense of culture or ethnicity, like the Norwegian lefse we always make on Thanksgiving and Christmas, but most of them seem born of a more recent American experience, such as the Christmas Eve pot stickers my Aunt Carol learned to make during college in the 70s from friends who had grown up in Hong Kong, my grandma's comforting Minnesotan wild rice soup, or the more mysterious case of chicken Venetian. If I try to define my family's culinary traditions, I immediately think of a willingness to follow the directions of an unknown recipe, the collecting of treasured cookbooks, and a desire to experiment with the cuisine originating from diverse areas across the world. I wonder if this is not a practice that came into being first and most strongly in America, where the incorporation of and a fascination with distant cultures has been the basis of some forms of identity. From this perspective, the question of chicken Venetian becomes related to the question of identity in America. It is doubtful to me that the recipe has anything to do with Venice, though it is possible, and I have no way of verifying its origin either. Still, it is easy for the recipe and the dish itself to conjure up in my mind the image of a distant time and place of original contact between the East and the West, almost allowing the consumer to imagine that they lived through this meeting of cultures. The power of this story, and its use as a marketable corporate packaging, may be able to tell us something about the American imaginary and its Silk Road, as it idealizes a vague image of historical commerce and cultural exchange. instead of relating its cuisine to any particular history or group of people. At the same time, it may be that the commodifiable picture presented in a case like that of chicken Venetian is just the reflection of a true and authentic migration of ideas related to food in our country. In any case, all these ideas about the nature of chicken Venetian simply make me want to cook and eat it again and again and again.